and they're like, shit, I should have done that. You know, you see them think, and they're like, ah, damn. Hey guys, what's up? I'm going to talk about saving time today. And saving time doesn't always mean to, to do things quicker or faster or more efficiently. Well, more efficiently. But sometimes it means doing things at the right time. So what I mean by that is, for instance, I had this experience with a job and traveling a lot. I was living in one city, starting a new job, working in the other city, and it took me about 1 to 1.5 hours to get there, and another 1.5 hours to get back. Now, when I finished working in the evening, about 7:30, I would have to eat at some point, right? So in the first week, I learned the hard way that when I finished work, traveled home, prepared dinner, that didn't really work because I ended up eating close to 10 p.m. even. So that wasn't healthy. It wasn't good for my sleep. It wasn't good for my digestion. So it was like, okay, so I'll grab something to eat on the way, but it's hard to eat healthy on the way. And it's very expensive, and you get small portions, so that's not ideal. That's going to cost me, instead of costing me sleep, it's going to cost me money and a little bit of my health. So that's another cost and benefit. So then I thought, okay, so let's use that time to cook in the evening, but for the next day. So to break this cycle, I had to cook double the amount, so I could eat that evening and save the rest for the next evening. And then when I went to work, I had this dinner already prepared, and I took that along with my lunch food to work. And then after work, I could eat while I was sitting in the train, and you've seen that on my Instagram, I hope. So that's what that was. I made the dinner the evening before, and then I could eat in the train, and I was already satiated and happy when I got home. And then what I did, all I had to do is cook without the urgency of eating and then being hungry. I could just cook very relaxed, so it saved me some stress even. And then I could just cook without worries for the next day again. And then the next day I finished work, and I was like, oh, great, I took care of myself ahead of time, and that way it worked. Of course, this wasn't a situation that was very optimal, because 3 hours of travel time per work day is a lot of time. So it still was costing me a lot, but at least it wasn't causing me to cost unnecessarily extra. So I found a way to manage that just by shifting around the schedule. Same goes for like if you want to have ripe fruit all the time and don't want to stress about it. Just measure one time how long it takes for a box of bananas to ripe. And, in wintertime, that might take a little bit longer, but I found it's approximately like 4 days when you can sort of start eating them. So when I have work, or I plan on doing something, or just want to have a steady food supply, I have to sort of check my schedule, plan ahead, and make sure on Friday buy a box of bananas, so on Wednesday I won't run out of the previous box I had. So that's all those things. And if you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, that sounds very complicated, that sounds very like, how do you schedule and plan all these things? It depends on your situation, but it doesn't have to be very complicated. You can just take a critical look at what you're doing, and if something is costing unnecessary time, and how you could prevent that. Because I see a lot of people buying food at the train station where it's more expensive and more unhealthy. And I'm like, why didn't you just bring a sandwich from home? Or, maybe, who does that? Like cooking some pasta or some rice or some potatoes to putting it in a little Tupperware box and put it in your backpack. It's very easy. If you go to work, there's probably a fridge somewhere where you can put that in and keep it safe and refrigerate it until you finish work. At school, I don't know, make a sort of couscous salad or something. There's always something you can take with you, and which you can eat cold, which is going to cost you just like a fraction of what you would pay at fast food joints, and it's not going to be as fatty and unhealthy for you. And I think what's the cool thing about it is that people see you bring your own food, and they're like, "Shit, I should have done that." You know, you see them think, and they're like, "Ah, damn, that guy made a healthy choice. He chose for himself." I think, and I really like that it gets people thinking. Sometimes people even comment on it. They're like, "Hey, what are you eating?" And then you have a cool conversation. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, so I'd like to know: do you bring your own food to work, to school? Do you prepare? Do you do other things that save you time? That is just a matter of good preparation, basically. And yeah, I'd like to know what you're doing. So thanks. Bye bye. See you later.